Don't break my headphones, Fuga. My headphones.
Okay. That took a bit longer than it should have. Hello!
Hello.
We are back, and
with the...
an extra little function for you.
Yep.
To show you what you can do with passing by reference.
Yep. Continuing with these functions, or continue with the function program. Fuga has taken the previous program and made it a bit cleaner.
And by cleaner, he means more doo-doo, because as you can see, I put the entire function up here on the top. And this is, I did this just to show you how not good it looks. So as you can see, I now have two functions.
I was talking about main, Fuga.
Yeah?
You're making main cleaner. That's all I care about.
Yeah,
main.
Yeah, but this looks horrible, and I'm going to explain why.
Right.
Now, let's say I am your professor, and I am looking at your code.
Very bad.
Now, if I see that your entire bodies are on the top part of your code, and I have to keep going back and forth all the way up, hunting down for your set function, I am going to be a little bit mad. Just a little bit.
I will argue with that and say, but you're going to be scrolling down anyways.
Well, here is my argument right back at you, devil's advocate, Kevin.
Instead of scrolling up, you're scrolling down.
Well, the names of your functions will usually tell you what they do. Unless you are not smart. Like if you call add
pickle
cupboard pickle jar, your professor is going to look at that and say, why? But it is called add, and it takes two integers and returns an integer.
You'd probably tell you your function name is too long.
Also that, but if my function name is called add, it returns an integer and it takes in two integers, I am assuming I am returning the addition of the two integers I passed in. Otherwise that function is weird and not intuitive. Anyway, this function is called getInput. Once again, what do you think it does?
Gets pickles.
Gets input. Correct, Kevin. Idiot. Takes in two integers by reference, which means they're actually going to get changed. They're not copies. I see out, please enter the first integer. I put it in. Please enter the second integer. You put it in. And then I did one for three integers.
And they're all by reference.
Yep. You know,
yes,
you're going to call me an idiot. You could actually do this by having one getInput function that takes in only one.
And do it multiple times.
And then do it with two parameters and just call the single one.
Yep, twice.
Yeah, and then get the one that takes three, and then do a double, and then do a single.
Yep.
And you could do it that way, and you can just keep calling functions and just build yourself up. But anyway, I did two. I put them up here, and you see this nasty overhead. Now, once again, since we passed them by reference, you can actually change them. So this cn, which is, you know, getting input, will actually work. And I want you to look at the main. If you compare this main to the one we previously had, you can see how much smaller it is. And if you read the code, you can get a pretty good idea of what's going on.
Yep.
Get input, you pass in two variables, and then you see out the addition of them. Get input, add from reference, you have three. There's something called answer in here. We see how the addition is the answer. See how it works? What you're trying to do with functions is you're trying to make your code look pretty. You're trying to make it be not encapsulated, but it does that anyway. I think modularized. There we go.
Yeah,
you're trying
go.
Man, so
Break
many
it
terms.
up into pieces.
So many terms. Anyway, here's what I'm going to do.
But your main does look much nicer now.
Correct, but I am going to fix it now because I'm not a dummy. But I
beg to differ.
I hate you, Ken. Anyway.
What are you doing?
What do you mean? What am I doing? I'm fixing the code.
Oh, okay.
And you can start thinking about something else that you want to talk about functions. Because we're probably going to cover one array one, but not in this video. 2, 3,
Yeah. Well, the functions are really helpful, by the way, because you can break your program down into pieces and think about it, piece by piece at a time and put it together that way instead of having to work with one giant monolithic program. So you can say like you have a big project or a big homework assignment and you have to use functions. You can be like, well, I have to make this standard deviation function, so that you can just work on that, and you don't have to worry about incorporating like all of that code inside of your main function to make sure it works throughout. You can just work on the function, make sure the function works, and that's it. That's all you have to worry about.
You can also compile functions. What the crud? I guess when you escape DD, it actually like puts it, like it technically copies it or something. Anyway. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You can compile functions, so you can always just work on functions at one at a time. And as you go along, you can fix them up, or you can incorporate them into your program. So you don't actually have to work on your entire program at a time. You can just work on like certain parts and get it done one step at a time.
Yep, which makes it seems a lot
simpler.
Yeah.
And a lot more manageable, because when you're working with one giant program, if you think about the whole thing as one, your head's
you might get overwhelmed.
Yeah, you're gonna get overwhelmed. That's the right word. That is completely the right word, Mr. Kevin.
I know.
And then this is now finished. Look at that. It's a lot better. Have your little comments at the top. Big main, very descriptive names. And then if you actually want to know what the functions are doing, you just scroll down.
Good job.
I say this is a lot better than...
Well, let's run it. Let's show them that it runs the same. Almost thought that said 21 there for a second, Puga.
Maybe you should get your eyes checked, sir.
Should.
Yep.
Looks good, Puga.
Looks fantastic, actually. Now, that video actually didn't take too long.
I think that's...
I don't think there's anything else to cover unless you can think of anything.
Nope.
For this functions. Oh yeah. Since you can actually have anything you can have in main, you can put in the functions. I remember it was a student that actually didn't know you could put if statements and while statements, do while statements, or for stuff.
Okay. Yeah. Every tool can be used inside of main and inside of a function. So
think of...
And functions can call functions.
Yeah. Functions basically work like a tiny main. A really small main, I guess. Yeah. It's its own scope. So you can do anything you could do in main, pretty much. As long as you're within the scope, you can pretty much do anything in the function. Like, you can have a while loop in your function. You can have a switch statement in a function. You can have a bunch of if statements. You can have whatever you want. There really is not into the stuff you can have. Oh, and let's go back actually to the file I/O program since we have some time.
We don't have time.
Yeah, we do. Give me a break.
What are we going to do in our file?
Well, I want to actually explain what this is now. This right here is a function.
Yes.
Declared by the good people who made C++. Or I don't know if I'm crediting.
F-stream.
Yeah, made the F-stream library, I suppose. So this is actually a function. And when you look up in C++ reference what it's doing, you're actually just looking at the specifications of what they did.
And normally you can tell if something is a function because of the open and close parentheses.
Uh-huh. And which introduces a pretty nice concept of computer science, which is called encapsulation, which is you do not actually need to know exactly how the function works to make it work.
Yep.
So what that means is that whoever makes the function obviously needs to know what it does and how it did it. But if I am using your program and I don't know what the function does, as long as I have like a little tidbit that gives me a specification on what your function does.
Yeah, like you need to know what to give it and what to expect back from it.
Yeah.
That's all another person needs to know if they don't have any knowledge of the actual function.
For example, let's say that me and Kevin were working on separate projects, and my function for I don't have a function that calculates the standard deviation like you were saying. I might ask Kevin, can I use your standard deviation function? He'll send it to me, and I can't understand a single freaking thing he did because he likes naming his variables weird, which is not true, by the way. But it's just an example. Let's say I don't understand his code. Now I ask Kevin to put me a little note up at the top in comments on what parameters it takes in and what it returns. Now, since it's a standard deviation, it should only take whatever numbers you need for the standard deviation and then return the standard deviation, correct?
Yep.
So, but if it was something more cryptic, like if you had a function that takes in an array and like it reverses it, does it return the array? Does it return a character array that is reversed, or does it just change the array that I passed to it? It just needs to have a little description at the top that says this function takes in this amount of variables and performs an action, and what it returns is this, or if it doesn't return it, you tell them which one of the variables that you passed is the one that's going to get changed and it's going to be holding whatever your operation did. Well, now I think the video is good.
Yep.
See, that took a little bit longer. I didn't think that it was going to take that little time to show them how to get input. Anyway, we're going to do one more program with functions. It's going to be with character arrays because most people have problems with character arrays and functions. And then we'll move on to structures, pointers, and classes. And we will see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.